Okay, so last week we looked at a simple Halo Reach Easter egg that wasn't too well known, but we thought it was just a simple homage to a previous Bungie title. But upon further looking into it, things started to get really interesting. New threads started being unraveled, and all of a sudden we found ourselves in possibly one of the biggest mysteries from Halo Reach that to this day, as far as we know, is still unsolved. This led us down the path of finding multiple points of interest hidden throughout Halo Reach, and we wonder, are these all connected? And if so, what do they mean? Much like how Halo 3 had the mystery of the Sandtrap text, or Halo 3 ODST had the mystery of the glyphs, what's going on here with Halo Reach? Okay, let's go ahead and go all the way back to the beginning to just the initial Easter egg itself that first kind of started us at this rabbit hole, that made us even start taking a closer look at Winter Contingency in Halo Reach and then other levels in Halo Reach as well. Firstly, if you play on Winter Contingency and you go to any of these structures, they look like these little colony circles, and likely all of these buildings are related to some sort of energy production or maintenance, but every single building is labeled with this symbol. However, each symbol is not the same. Every symbol, while looking very, very similar to the next one, is uniquely designed for each individual structure. Now, we did notice a couple of times some of these designs are reused, and overall we found about 3 to 4 different variants of these circles in different locations. Now, the initial Easter egg that was actually pointed out to us by longtime Halo fan Dashy Jinx is that this symbol is likely to an extent a visual homage to a symbol that was found in the Marathon games labeled on multiple different doors. And while not identical, it did look like some sort of visual inspiration was drawn from an earlier Bungie game, which is something that Bungie has been known to do throughout their entire tenure while working on Halo. Now, one thing we definitely learned from the ODST glyphs is that at the very least, every single visual flare or little design that's put into a prominent place serves some sort of purpose, whether it's just to make players think or an intentional mystery. We don't think there's just a coincidence that these symbols are here. Now, we can't help but to also notice that there are some other much smaller level mysteries that are also on Winter Contingency and levels like this level that still to this day are unsolved. And while we can't definitively say, hey, these two things are related, the fact that they are on the same level, we also had them brought to our attention that made us really curious what's going on here. Like this poster that shows multiple humans or maybe Spartans listed out here, and only one of them is red for whatever reason. There's also this poster that for a long time many fans thought was an allusion or a little Easter egg to Destiny, though we don't know for certain that that's what this is. There's these posters that could just be related to the pump system that they use to generate power, and also there's this thing that we don't really know much about or why it's here, but it could suggest that there's something going on with nuclear energy in the lore here. These are just very, very loose mysteries, and they don't really draw into any massive thing that we can tell just yet. But hang on, there is something tangible here and a real firm reason that we think that there is a bigger mystery hidden here in Halo Reach, with maybe connections to the larger Bungie era Halo lore that we haven't figured out. All the way back when Halo 3 ODST was about to release, during a panel that had Joseph Staten, Paul Bertone, Marty O'Donnell, and a few other people, there was a lot of talks about various little secrets and clues and Easter eggs that would be hidden away in Halo Reach. There was even references to I Love Bees talked about, as the team who did I Love Bees was brought back on to do Sadie's story in ODST. But with the game releasing in just 2 weeks, Joe Staten teased this image at the panel and said explicitly this.
Secret numbers there. I thought I'd put it up for you guys that are taking pictures and want to spend the next, how many weeks till the game comes out? 2 weeks? Couple, 3? All right, pretty soon. You see if you can figure this out by then. Send your answers to Marty O'Donnell at... Just tweet him. Yeah, tweet.
Okay, what does that tell us? There's a mystery here, and you would think that, yeah, people would look into it and they'd figure it out right away. Still to this day, nobody figured out what this symbol means, specifically the QTA XII VI in Roman numerals. Okay, Elijah, but what does that have to do with Reach? Well, on Winter Contingency right here, we noticed the first time ever, this Marine and many of the Marines you'll see throughout Reach, but specifically the ones in Winter Contingency to start, have this symbol right here on their bodies. Matter of fact, as far as we can tell, this is the only place in the games where this symbol that was used to promote ODST as some sort of mystery shows up again. And mind you, this is just about 1 year after this panel happened, so it's still relatively close in timeline. Now, this is a topic that hasn't been brought up too many times throughout the Halo community. They did have a couple of discussions back on the Secret Glyphs project, which you guys may remember from the ODST days, trying to figure out what the glyphs meant, and it would come up from time to time again throughout the years well after 343 took over. Still, nobody knows what this QTA XII VI means. Later down the road, some fans would speculate that QTA could be a reference to Virgil, which his engineer name is Quick to Adjust, which makes sense at the beginning. However, Virgil actually being named Quick to Adjust wasn't a thing that happened during the Bungie era. Nowhere in Halo 3 ODST's dialogue or extended lore does Virgil get referred to as Quick to Adjust. This was all done well later on during the 343 era, and which it could still be connected. We have reason to think that it'd be weird for Virgil's name to randomly show up on a Marines pack over here. So that leaves us with one bigger unanswered question that we can't help but to wonder how this all could connect together if it does. Now, of course, the QTA thing, these symbols, this poster could all be their own threads detached from each other. But for the sake of us trying to figure out any of them, we want to present them all in a video, whether they're related or not, because there's still something pretty big hidden in Halo Reach that nobody's even thinking about just yet. The thing is, it also gets a little bit deeper the further we look. So we went to the level Nightfall, and there's more structures that are these round bases, and these ones are labeled with the same symbols from Winter Contingency, even the same variants in some instances. And of course, we do see Powerhouse, and we see some of the same posters again, which does kind of continue the thread, obviously, that this is some energy production plant, at least in the lore. But later on, if you load up on Exodus, this is something in a completely different location on the planet Reach. And we found it very interesting that when Dashi was trying to show us some of these details about these symbols, the symbols show up again in New Alexandria. Specifically, of all places, in this laundry room right in here. Yeah, this room's a laundry room if you didn't know. There's these are the washing machines, and over here are, I don't know, like laundry chutes. But if you look very closely at some of the various cleaning supplies, whoa, there we go, seeing the symbol once again. And like we said, Bungie, or at least not typically, reuses symbols unintentionally in this manner. Matter of fact, if you want to take it a step further, we did think that this cheeseburger box over here also kind of resembled the same symbols that we've been looking at too, but maybe this one was a little more loose than some of the other ones. Now, Dashi did have a really interesting theory about these symbols, saying that the symbol could be representative for each individual building's purpose and what the layout of the buildings combined together would look like. And while in the map itself, the layout of these buildings, while they are round, doesn't match up to the symbol, at least thematically speaking, it could be an idea that these are kind of like symbols that are based on a very basic map layout of what these structures look like. We like that idea, but once again, we see these symbols showing up on various products over here on Exodus. So if anything, we're just more confused than where we were beforehand. And of course, we can see various Marines throughout the rest of Reach's campaign also having that QTA XII VI showing up on some Marines here as well. Now here's the thing, in ODST and Reach, dialogue-wise and a lot of the written lore-wise, this QTA XII VI thing doesn't show up anywhere else except in one small, obscure official piece of Halo merchandise. If you pre-ordered the special edition of Halo 3 ODST that came with the special ODST controller, on the text here, you can just see barely QTA XII VI again. Dashi did make a suggestion that QTA could possibly stand for Quick turnaround, and then maybe 12-6 would be December 6th, though nothing really important or notable released in December during Bungie's Halo run. Even if we flipped the dates around to like the European option, which wouldn't really make sense since Bungie's in Seattle. June 12th also doesn't have anything substantial. So with all the threads of information on hand, we had to try to put all of these things together in one way or another to see what any of this could possibly mean. So the next steps were for us to go back in time and look at what some of the earliest discussions about some of these mysteries were online. And oh boy, did we not expect what we would find falling down this rabbit hole. Upon our research here, looking for answers to specifically the QTA XII VI mystery, we discovered a channel that's 11 years old on YouTube that back in the day was dedicated to trying to uncover this mystery. And this channel is amazing. Luke, just play like 4 of their videos at the same time on the screen. I think everyone will get a good understanding of what this channel's like if we do that. Okay, before we actually dive into any of the theories and ideas that this channel had looking into the QTA research all the way back in 2011 specifically, is just the absolute relic of its time that this YouTube channel is, and I'm all for it. These videos have in-game music soundtracks. We got edits that I'm pretty sure were done in Windows Movie Maker. We got a ton of in-game screenshots. We got some free-to-use Halo-inspired font. And of course, paragraphs of text that are shown up on the screen in some sort of slideshow format that you have to pause because it goes off the screen too quickly. This is like my favorite type of old content on YouTube, just because this was what people did back in the day. This was the easiest way to present some ideas and reach a larger audience. And unfortunately, maybe this mystery didn't reach as many people as it could have, but now look at this. 11 years later, we're able to go back and look at this and put ourselves in the shoes of people looking into the mystery all the way back in 2011, and that's really cool. So this channel is called Halo QTA Research, and it looks like it was a group of like 6 to 10 friends who were interested in not only maybe making a clan of some sorts that also was looking into the mystery. I feel like most likely it was just like one guy who invited his friends to join up, and he did all the work and they just kind of were in some of the screenshots. But I'll be honest, watching the videos that are on this channel, it set the bar really high for my expectation as to what we can expect and what theories maybe they came up with back in the day. I mean, right here in this video, it says, with us, it's not just research, it's theory engineering. Now that is amazing. Now, despite the name of the channel, there's really only 2 main videos dedicated to the QTA mystery, which is plenty here. There's some other Easter egg videos that they may have filmed with their television set, and a happy birthday video to some guy named Razor. But for the sake of the mystery, we're obviously going to focus in on these QTA videos. Now, the first video seems to more be a teaser trailer for the fact that they're looking into this, pointing out the fact that the QTA symbol also shows up in the game in Halo Reach, like we have already talked about. But they do hint to maybe some biblical analogies that came out of their research, which is interesting. You thought the Bible was boring? You were wrong. You guys see why this is the greatest channel. Okay, then they open up their first piece of relation that might have something to do with the 12:6 QTA mystery. They showcase the Bible verse, which is Luke 12:6, which is, are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 cents? And then right below that, they draw a comparison to a line of dialogue in Halo Reach from Catherine Halsey, who says, "You wanted to know what your Spartans died for, Commander? They died for this." I don't fully understand the allegory here or the connection between these 2 lines of dialogue, but the next screenshot maybe will help a bit, where it shows a quote from Luke 12-6 again, saying, "Yet not one of them will be forgotten," and then quotes Keys from the end of Reach saying, "Don't worry, they'll be remembered." And then they reference Luke 12-4, which isn't seemingly related, but they quote it anyways, "I tell you, my friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body and after that can do no more." And then the ending narration from Halsey in Reach, "You belong to Reach, your body, your armor, all burned and turned to glass, everything except your courage," which, once again, I don't really fully see the connection here. Then the video ends showing this screenshot from what I think is the Halo 3 legendary ending, where we see Requiem, and I guess they photoshopped the QTA XII VI onto the image. I think that was just supposed to be like a teaser for their channel. So yeah, I was a little confused, obviously. I wonder if there are some biblical allegories relating to QTA that maybe we didn't think of, and that's what they were trying to hint at, but maybe it wasn't presented in the best form. I ended up pulling up Luke 12-6 myself to read all of the different translations of this Bible verse. It seems like in the video they left out the line before God or by God. I think the real meaning behind the Bible verse back in the day, or the intention of this Bible verse, was to suggest that while a sparrow isn't worth very much money, God still cares for it and it's important for him, and in the same sense that humans are important to God, or at the very least that's what I believe the intention of the writing is trying to convey. So I feel like the omission of these words is kind of misleading for this theory in trying to just draw a connection to the Bible, even though there probably isn't anything really connecting them here. This is actually something we see a lot in the Halo community when it comes to looking into theories, where people will jump to biblical references because there are a lot of biblical references throughout Halo. Maybe that's a topic for an entire different video. Not that Halo is overtly trying to tell a biblical story, but there's a lot of theological references and thematic commentary at play that makes references and theories to a ton of different things. Like the easiest reference to just convey this idea is if you look at like Noah's Ark story from the Bible. It's like Noah was a human, God sent a flood to destroy the earth, Noah survived on an ark, and then God makes a covenant with humans that he would never flood the earth again. We don't see this explicitly play out in Halo, but you can see how a lot of the terminology that shows up in biblical senses are translated into the Halo universe. This is something that popped up a lot during the ODST glyph mystery, people trying to draw connections from things like John 1:17, which absolutely never seems relevant to any mystery in Halo. But like, we also overlook some other significant things when we're looking at like the Bible for evidence, like the fact that there's 4 different Johns in the Bible to begin with. I don't know, I always have trouble when theories go down the route of just pulling random Bible verses and trying to make them fit in rather than a direct influence from Bible verses. But then again, here I am picking apart an 11-year-old theory that some teenagers probably came up with. Now, the second video on the QTA mystery is even more interesting because it gives us some lore to this group of people looking into the QTA mystery. This screenshot says it all began when one person, by misspelled the name of Nico Noodle, found the QTA mark in Halo Reach. He even created a secret group dedicated to finding the secrets of this game. Then it seems like after that there was maybe some falling out in the group because apparently he never really helped in the search and always took credit for someone else's work. He didn't care anymore. Okay, at this point I know that this is like getting really off topic because we can probably say that most of this research is irrelevant, but I'm just so intrigued by this like backstory that I can't help but to continue reading it. The next slide says after that there were fights that broke out, people were accused, insulted, threatened, and shots were fired. Nico was afraid he would lose his power, so he started wrongly banning people and demoting admins. He also insulted most of us. Then, Nico left without a warn. Everyone panicked. They thought the group was done, but not all was lost. The admins rose up and started a new group with a fair and just system dedicated to finding the secrets of Halo Reach. Okay, this next screen in their thing with the Halo 2 music playing in the background, I can't read the text very well here. I had to like zoom in and enhance to figure out what it's trying to say here. Actually, it's just repeating the same paragraph from the screen before, so we can skip it. So as it turns out, the music gets real intense and then it just continuously shows different screenshots of Spartans and elites, which I assume is supposed to represent the admins rising up to start a new group. Like the music's doing the full dun 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 while it's showing the pictures. And that just plays out for the next 2 minutes. And that's the whole video. That's the QTA research story so far. So at this point, we've fallen down a 9-minute rabbit hole that has taught us absolutely nothing, but it was really interesting to find this relic out there. Please don't let this YouTube drama detract from the fact that I do think there is a genuine mystery here with the QTA research from back in the day, because they obviously teased it at this panel. However, this was just like an added bonus that we found when doing this research. So while I was falling down this rabbit hole, Luke, on the other hand, decided to look deep into some development history that was going on with Halo 3 ODST. He found some interesting stuff regarding some contracts between Halo and Microsoft that might have something to do with that theory that Dashi brought up earlier, thinking that maybe QTA stood for quick turnaround. Maybe these were supposed dates at some point, but we're still not 100% sure. Luke can explain the development contractual stuff a little bit better than I I can, so here he is for a second.
So recently, Frogarchist made a video called A Reprisal of Halo 3 ODST. And Marty Donald must have seen it because he commented on it recently and he explained that Halo 3 ODST actually almost didn't happen. Let me explain. So when Bungie negotiated their way out of Microsoft, they struck a deal that they would make Halo 4, which later became Reach, and then would make the Peter Jackson Halo game, right? Not the movie, the game. To the movie. And Bungie's understanding of the situation was that if the Peter Jackson game falls through, they don't have to make that Halo game, they only have to make Halo 4, which again, later on became Reach. But I don't know, something must have happened that never made it into the contract, so here they were having to make another Halo game. And that's when they came up with the idea for ODST, and the whole thing was supposed to be a Halo 3 DLC. You know, they kind of wanted to under-promise a game and then over-deliver with a great campaign, which, you know, ODST is a great game, so they exceeded at that. But then something happened with Microsoft not having a big holiday 2009 release, so Microsoft stepped in and made it a $60 game with Halo 3's multiplayer and made it seem like it's a full-on fledged Halo release, when Bungie's intention was that it was supposed to be a $30 Halo DLC. And actually, if you can remember, there was a countdown clock where they were supposed to announce the campaign expansion for Halo 3 at E3, and that was actually cancelled last minute. So you might be wondering how the whole story ties in here, but it could be that the QTA, you know, 12.6 was supposed to tease a date for something coming up, and then that was cancelled by Microsoft, much like they cancelled the ODST reveal at E3. You know, they cancelled the whole timer at the last minute, but that's just a theory. And then, you know, part of that could have been left over, or maybe it never evolved into something bigger, and then when Halo 4 shifted to be Halo Reach, they just left it in as a little homage. We don't know.
So even after all that, I still thought it'd be interesting to look through some Bungie forum posts from back in the day to see if I could find anything new or some unique ideas that people were thinking back then. I came across one massive thread discussing the QTA Mystery. I thought this would be interesting, though when I reached the beginning of the thread, like clicked to the first page, I noticed the post was by none other than Nico Noodle, the former leader of the Mystery or something like that. And oh boy, was this an interesting read. It seemed like the thread was already locked or something, and then people came in from the clan that made the video, and then there was like some arguing in the forum going back and forth. Like, it was like reading the drama that we just experienced in real time. But then I finally stumbled across a larger post by Nico Noodle, who actually went into detail a little bit more about that Bible verse that earlier we were like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever, pointing the emphasis out that Luke 12-6 Bible verse we looked at, they speculated that it was a theme for the idea of 5 sparrows being worth 2 cents, meaning the 5 members of Noble Team that died to save Master Chief and Cortana, which would be the 2 cents. I'm still not fully buying the theory, but at least Nico Noodle's post does clear up where that Bible verse even came from, or how there could even be a connection. But then I found another post that I thought was really interesting by Will Mojo Cowbell, who it was a little sarcastic, but a very valid point. They pointed out that QTA could be the date December 6th. Once again, something that we looked at early on, but made the suggestion that the reason it was revealed during that ODST panel a few weeks before ODST's launch was that it actually was a teaser for Halo Reach. Now, we do know for a fact that on December 12th, 2009, Bungie uploaded the Halo Reach E3 trailer onto their YouTube channel that had been shown off earlier on in the year at E3. However, it's unknown, to us at least, if it was already posted online prior to that. Will Mojo's post suggests that the trailer was posted online originally on December 6th, 2009, 6 days before the YouTube upload date, but we couldn't find anything to corroborate that because a lot of Bungie's archives are no longer existent. But then that still paints the picture. Okay, so it was just to tease a trailer, but why would all of these Marines in the game also have these symbols on their armor? Is there another significance that we're missing here? Okay, then just to be fully sure, for fun, I decided to take things a little bit further. There's a program that's been kind of going viral lately called ChatGPT. It's essentially an AI-based chat client that uses AI learning to like scour human text that's been on the web and digitalized. Like, we're talking billions and billions of words, phrases, and sentences. And essentially you can put a question in, and in return, ChatGPT ChatGPT will attempt to understand what you're asking and then try to learn and understand and form an answer or a response to the prompt that you gave it. It's pretty cool. It's not always accurate, but sometimes it is, and sometimes it's actually insightful because it reads through so many lines and lines of text and words related to whatever you asked it. It may catch something that you may have missed that it picked up on along the way. So besides me just having fun asking it random questions like, what do the J signs mean in Halo 3 ODST, and its response being Braille, or its surprisingly okay response to what the glyphs could mean from ODST, it came up with a unique suggestion when I prompted it with this mystery of the QTA. ChatGPT came up with this response. The code is a reference to the real-world Latin phrase quidquid Latin dictum sit altum videtur. Excuse my terrible pronunciation, which roughly translates to whatever is said in Latin seems profound. The code is a play on this phrase and is a nod to the fact that many elements in the Halo franchise, including some of the Forerunner technology, have names that are derived from Latin. I don't know where it got this information from. I mean, there's some accuracies in at least what the translation means, but the connection to the QTA thing is interesting at the very least. We do know for a fact that Bungie has done multiple little things like this, specifically hiding things with the purpose of knowing that there's nothing really deep behind it, just to throw players on an interesting loop. And the translation does seem interesting, though I don't fully understand how it is an homage to QTA, but it is interesting that the QTA prompt brought this up. I don't know how it's relevant. Maybe there's a better link someone else can find, and this is just the starting point, but I did want to just throw that in there because it was just kind of an interesting thing that happened during the time period where we were editing this video. Seriously, this just became one of the bigger rabbit holes. We didn't expect it to get as deep as it did or take a couple of weird twists and turns and pit stops along the way, but it has been really interesting to look into. We'd love to know what you guys think, if you think there's anything to this. Maybe this is just nothing at all, but let us know what you think in the comments down below. A huge shout out to our patrons. Thank you so much for supporting our channel, letting us make content like this and dig into these random mysteries. It's really cool. If you guys want to become a patron and throw a couple dollars our way, it helps our channel out a lot. You get your name here in the credits, which is cool. You can put that on your resume that you were a Rocket Sloth producer if you become a patron. Also, if you want to support us a different way, you could always use code RocketSloth when refilling your gamer subs. But otherwise, that's it for today. We'll see you all next time with a brand new video.